Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning, my fellow colleagues, and the Honorable Ms. Nurul Afiatena as the lecturer of the academic speaking course. My name is Fauzan. I'm the presenter for today's discussion. It is a distinct privilege to have this opportunity to address you guys. So what I intend to do is to explain an article research. So first, of course, we have to identify the topic of my presentation. So my presentation topic is an analysis of the journal Student Interaction with ChatGPT Can Promote Complex Critical Thinking Skills. Okay, so let's have a look in the past 2 years. The rise of AI chatbots like ChatGPT has caused disruption in education. The core question for us as academics is, does AI destroy critical thinking or can it actually enhance it? So this study aims to provide the answer. I have divided my presentation into several sections. First is to summarize the core, findings, methodology, and implications. Now, let's begin to the presentation. Okay? First slide is to introduce the title and the authors of this journal article. So, the title of the article we will discuss is Student Interaction with ChatGPT Can Promote Complex Critical Skills. And the study was conducted by several researchers, including Rosella Suriano, Alessio Plebe, Alessandro Asia, and the last is Rosa Angela Fabio. We have now identified the title and the individuals behind this research. Okay, next move to the definition of the research. The journal addressed a critical subject. So, the impact of AI-based chatbots like ChatGPT on students' academic abilities, specifically their critical thinking skills. What's more is that the background highlights that while ChatGPT is frequently used by students for academic challenges, and the consequences of this interaction on critical thinking skills are not yet fully understood. So that's the definition of this research. With the definition established, we can now turn to the research objectives. Moving on now to objective of the research. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, from what I have studied about this research is very interesting. I mean, the point I'm making is to tell the objective of this research. So basically, the core objective of this research was to explore the complex relationship between students' attitude and trust in AI, then their knowledge and engagement with AI, and also the ultimate outcome, critical thinking performance. So that's the objective or the purpose of the research, to find the result in several relationship students between ChatGPT. From here, we can find out the use or benefits of AI itself on students' abilities and critical thinking. Now, let's take a look in the next slide. Okay? The next slide is about to examine the research methods used in this article. So this is the fourth point from this presentation. Okay? In the methodology section, they explain the methods used as well as the research design they carried out. The researchers utilized a quantitative approach using path analysis to model this relationship. The design was cross-sectional, and the research design was a correlational study utilizing self-report measures like questionnaires and performance assessments. here we can see that the methods they used in this research was quantitative and utilizing with self-report measures like questionnaire, and it can show the result or data collection they needed in findings later. Okay, maybe just examine the research methods is not enough. Yeah, we also have to identify the participants that involved in this research because it can support the explanation for this presentation. Okay, my fellow colleagues, everyone, as I mentioned earlier, after we find out the method of this research, we also have to identify the participants who participated in this research. So let's have a look at this slide for the data of participants. So the number of the participant is about 241 universities, though 243 initially participated. 2 were excluded due to incomplete data. And for the location, the authors took the students from the universities in Italy. So they took all the students for this research is from all the universities in Italy. Also, they mentioned that the average age from all the participants was 23.47 years, and then representing from diverse academic backgrounds for better results. From the characteristic, the average age was 23.47, and from them they representing diverse academic backgrounds like medicine, social sciences, psychology, economics, etc. So that's clear for the participants' data. Okay, next aspect that I would like to consider is detailing data collection. This is also an interesting point, by the way. I'd like to draw your attention to this slide because they mention some aspects or even materials that they measured and used in this research to divide the results and to see which aspects that influence on the data collection. So the data collection involves using several self-report scales, like I said before, to measure variables like attitude, trust, engagement, but crucially, it also included a performance measure, the critical reasoning assessment, or CRA, to measure actual skill. There is several aspects like general attitudes towards artificial intelligence scales, or GAAIS, to measure general attitude towards AI. And then there is a human computer trust measure, HCTM, measure to trust in AI. And then we have level of knowledge or experience with ChatGPT, engagement with ChatGPT, critical thinking, attitude scale, and the last is critical reasoning assessment, or CRA, or to measure actual performance. If we look at the information on the following slide, after we already identifying several points, lastly is highlighting key findings. Moving to the findings, the last point that I will break it down to you, the study, is the results confirm that the first hypothesis, which posited that a positive attitude and greater trust in AI directly influence knowledge, experience, and engagement with technology. The data showed that students with favorable attitude and high trust in ChatGPT tended to acquire more knowledge and engage more actively with the chatbot. This suggests that a positive attitude towards AI not only enhances learning but also stimulates more active participation in interacting with technology. So, as I already observed, that positive attitude and trust are necessary precursor as they lead to higher knowledge and engagement. A positive attitude and trust towards AI significantly impact knowledge and engagement with AI. And engagement with ChatGPT in particular was found to have the strongest significant effect on critical thinking performance greater than the effect of knowledge. Okay? The next slide is about to illustrate the data, and we can take a look to this table number 1, because in table number 1 shows that the means and standard deviation of the questionnaires related to attitudes and trust toward artificial intelligence, engagement, knowledge, performance, and attitude towards critical thinking. And for the correlation, it is stated that all variables showed a positive and moderate correlation with critical thinking performance. Engagement and attitude towards AI were the only variables that correlated with critical thinking attitude. For the explanation of analysis data percentage more or less like attitude and trust in AI together explain 42.4% of the variance in predicting engagement. Then attitude, trust in AI together explain 39% of the variance in predicting knowledge. And knowledge engagement and knowledge together accounted for 13.4% of the variance in predicting critical performance. So that leads us to the next data of table number 2. As I said before on the previous slide, this table number 2, presents the Pearson correlation between the various variables. The results indicate a positive and moderate correlation between all variables and critical thinking performance. Specifically, engagement and attitude towards AI were found to correlate with critical thinking attitude. However, the most important thing in this finding is that engagement with ChatGPT emerged as the strongest direct predictor of high critical thinking performance. Okay, next, last but not least, is to providing the implications of this research. I would like my fellow colleagues to take a look and consider to the several crucial implications that they exposed in the article. So it leads us to the crucial implication. Educators should not ban AI, but instead adopt pedagogical shift towards critical integration. We must teach students how to actively critique and average AI output to promote deeper thinking. Okay, lastly, after we've been through this presentation, to sum up, we can emphasize that this journal demonstrates that when students are actively and critically engaged with AI, it can be a powerful catalyst for developing complex critical thinking skills. I think that covers the most of the points. So I think that's enough for today's discussion. I'm sorry for any mistakes or errors from what I'm saying. Yeah, so Hope you guys enjoy my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.